Ladies and gentlemen, I am back once again with another How to Sing Like, and today our subject is going to be Ian Thornley because we are still on the big wreck kick right now, and we're going to go ahead and finish off this whole package of videos here with a singing tutorial. Alright, so getting into this, I'm going to once again assume everyone can at least do the basics with singing, which means compressing with your lower abdominal muscles, things like that, being able to push with your diaphragm, and of course using support muscles in your lower body, which is essentially the same ones you use when you're going to the bathroom. So if we got those things in order, then we can get into the meat of this lesson here. So Ian Thornley is a pretty excellent singer, and I think he's one of the best out there right now, and he was also one of the best back in the early 2000s when their second record came out, and we're going to be focusing first on a song from that time. We're going to go to All Our Days Are Numbered here on the Pleasure and the Greed album, and we're going to start from the top of the verse here. This song shouldn't be too challenging to go through. This one I picked first because it's the most kind of, I don't want to say basic thing, but it lets us hit all the points that we need to in a song without having to do anything too ridiculous to start out. All right, let's listen to that verse now.
They say you'll go to hell if you get baked. The things we know so well are never fake.
So with that verse, we're in a lower part of the voice here and doing compression at the same time. And we're kind of looking for this little bit of swagger with it, you know. And they say you'll go to hell, you know, go to hell. And that's a pretty basic thing. You just go lower in your voice here and compress. And you're almost kind of getting a little bit of whispering going here, but it's louder than that. And we get that tone, obviously, like I said, the compression. So push with your tummy when you do this. And you will get, they say you'll go to hell if you get baked. Don't forget those consonants. The things we know so well are never faked. And then I guess we'll go to the next line just because we can. We'll just do the one line here. And remember, we're getting more swagger in this bit here, and it's kind of the same thing. We're just moving our pitch up a little more from where we were before. I've walked some different lines and they're alone. So really get the swagger. I walk some different lines. That kind of thing, you know, and you want to keep your mouth relatively closed here. So we're not doing this. I've walked some different lines. No, we're not opening our mouth like that. We're doing, I've walked some different lines and they're alone. Open up a little bit more alone. Now we're going to jump to the pre-chorus here. I got to find it. All right, here's the pre-chorus.
Your life is not your own. You're just hanging out in flesh and bone.
So we're not going to do the higher here. We're going to do the lower part. So we're going to open up our voice a little bit more here. Your life is not your own. You're just hanging out in flesh and bone. So we want that. We're up higher in our pitch and we're more open. Your life is not your own. You're just hanging out in flesh and bone. So in that last one, on bone, you really want to open it up. Bone! And get that vibrato there. It's more of a belt, so we're thinking about feeling that in the front of our mouth. Bone! So yeah, you should feel the front of your mouth vibrate, you know, the end of your tongue and your teeth when you get that right. And we got that more open here, and we are going to have, the chorus is going to be open too, but we're going to have to change our placement when we get there, and you guys will see what I'm talking about. All right, so chorus now, let's listen. So you can hear the all there is belted, and then he changes his placement for R, and you'll hear that. Long, long days are numbered. You hear this, oh, kind of sound there, very open belt. And then R, he's going to move the sound to his soft palate in the back of his mouth. La! So when you move that, ah, you should hear that vibrate in the top of your mouth toward the back is where you're placing that R there. And then we come back down the days. Days! So we start with the open, day, and then we close it down. Days! Like that to get the nice vibrato at the bottom of the note. La numbered! And that one's kind of an in-between kind of belt thing. We don't have our mouth open all the way. Like, bird! We're closed a little bit to get bird! So get your mouth wide. And you're still belting. Your mouth shape is just not open there. And then close it down at the end like he did on days to get the nice vibrato. And then the only difference in the second line is on old, he lowers the pitch instead of going up. It's an age-old spell I've been under. And then the yeah after that, which we didn't hear, but it's yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. So you want to introduce some fried there. So we want to get the ah. So just practice doing that. Ah. And then start adding your pitch into it. Yeah. Yeah. And you get that kind of thing there. So yeah, that's a good look at something pretty normal for Ian there. It's not too challenging because the range is not too crazy. So you ought to be able to apply this one pretty well. One thing to say about Ian's voice is, especially early on with it, it has this kind of wild tendency where you're kind of just hitting the notes with a lot of intensity and kind of just throwing them out there, not really being too concerned with how it comes out, just putting the energy into it. You know, the chorus here. Long, long days are numbered. You kind of want to be a little crazy with how you're delivering this. Like, it's emotional stuff, so be wild and emotional. All right, let's go to another one here. We're going to do Locomotive real quick. Let's do the verse. So we're doing the same thing. It's compressed voice and all that, but Ian's voice has changed here because this is 2019 versus 2001. It's a big jump in his age, but his technique is still pretty similar. Here he's starting out low-ish, kind of compressed. He uses a lot more head voice in his older age and can actually sing a lot higher, can sing higher comfortably, more comfortably, it seems like. He also relies on fry in his voice a lot more in his older age. So similar thing, we're just starting with a higher pitch here, kind of thinking more about our head voice here and pushing into it to give us this sound. Well, I still remember what was said, like burning embers in my hand. Let's go to the next line here, and there's some stuff I want to talk about with that. And so you can hear on words that he is really punctuating that fry and throwing it in there. All of a sudden, he's just kind of taking it, drawing it up out of nowhere and hitting these words with it. And that's something you need to get used to, especially if you're going to sing more recent Big Wreck stuff, is just lines, going from lines that don't have that much distortion to lines where it's a bunch of fry all of a sudden. Same thing, compressed in this upper part of our voice here, kind of this low head voice that we're pushing into to create the sound. Okay, I might screw this up because I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this today. Being disabled sucks. So. Well, as the sky was turning red, gotta feel what lies ahead. I think that's the best attempt I'm going to get out of it. But you can hear with that Because we're going, well, as the sky. You're getting that distortion there. Same thing on the next line. Gotta feel. So my distortion texture is a little bit different from his. His is a little bit more pure and has a higher timbre. So mine's a little bit lower timbred. So it sounds a little bit different, but it's the same concept there. Okay, let's just go to the chorus here and listen to that.
Just like a locomotive, where we are a heavy load. Just like a locomotive, lay the past out in the road.
Same thing we're talking about before, same kind of thing. You're compressing your voice, but this is higher pitch, more energy because it's a chorus. And there's a lot more fry here. And you can hear stuff in the second line where he gets the word R, where he's doing the thing that we talked about earlier, moving the sound to your soft palate in the back of your mouth to belt that vowel sound a little better. Just like a locomotive, well, we are the heavy load. Just like a locomotive. And you can hear on the second locomotive, he breaks into his head voice, and that kind of gives it away to what is going on here. His head voice is there behind the distortion. And this is a big concept to understand, that a lot of the idea of mixed voice is technically not mixing two registers. And it's one register, but you're using techniques from different concepts to make it sound like it's two at once. Let me explain that. So most mixed voice is just head voice that has compression and has maybe a little bit of distortion in it to disguise the fact that it's head, basically. So you're using your head voice, but you're thinking about it with this compressed distortion technique that feels more familiar to you in chest voice, but you're just applying it to head voice to make it sound stronger, is basically what's happening. So you think about that way, that can sometimes make the execution of mixed voice stuff a little bit easier. If you're just thinking about, oh, I'm just using my head voice, but I'm just pushing. I didn't do the last line here. Let's do that again. Just like a locomotive, lay the past out in the road. That road is always hard to get there. Mine's a little bit different from his, but it's supposed to be road. This is the same thing we've been talking about, but we're putting a lot of fry into it. The sound we talked about. Practice that again by doing that kind of thing with no pitch. Just going and then add your pitch into it. In the case, round is round. That's the pitch. Round. And then see you add the distortion, and that changes the texture there, and you get that sound. And the last one, just for fun, is we're going to Fear and Cowardice from 2022, I believe, is when this song came out. And my voice is getting a little weird here. I didn't get any water before this, and I've got some pesky saliva in a place in my throat where I don't want it. Okay, so Fear and Cowardice, we're going to get a little bit of a different texture here and placement in the voice on this verse, and we're going to talk about that.
Head out for the one that stung, branded and sticking around.
As you can hear from that, we are doing the fry again, but it's lower in his voice. So this is a very different placement of this, and this song is a little bluesy, so you gotta give it just a little bit of funk when you do it. Don't sing it too straight. Held out for the one that stung, branded and sticking around. And then the next line.
Well, I never tried to stay among. Well, summer like playing the clown.
And you get that nice fry with the I. Ah! So practice that kind of sound there in the middle of your voice. Ah! And I find with the distorted line like that, if you get that fry on that first note like that, you can usually carry it through a lot easier into the rest of the line there. Fry has a tendency to be like that, especially with a higher note. It can help you to start it at a lower note and then push it up into a higher one, and that lets you maintain the fry a little bit easier. So let's do this line though. But I never tried to stay among with some who like playing the clown. That last run might have been a little off, but that's close enough. Let's go to the next part because there's some stuff that's interesting with that.
As you swallow till your belly's round, you forget to chew, yeah. It's a taste so wrong, you play along, and you forget to choose, yeah.
So that part has a little bit less fry into it, but there's still compression happening and still that. And even on the head note that he goes for, with chew, you can still hear the fry a little bit in the back of that head voice note. As you swallow till your belly's round, you forget to chew, yeah. So you want to hit that chew, chew. So you're just doing fry with the head voice, with a more pure head note there. Chew, yeah. It's a taste so wrong, you play along, you forget to choose, yeah. Let's go to the chorus.
So what are you running from? You're not getting away. Fear and cowardice here and now, and we made it.
So this chorus is a much more of a head voice belt with just compression, not really fry, until we get to the words fear and cowardice, where he puts a lot of fry into that upper part of the head voice there. And as you can tell, he's pushing into a higher note when he does the fry there. And like I talked about, there's a reason for that. It's easier to do it that way than to just start at a high note and try to distort it from there. Let's see if I got the strength to do this. So what are you running from? You're not getting away. Fear and cowardice here and now, and they made it. So it's, so what are you running from? So we're up there like that. So don't forget to compress when you do it. So. Yeah, and that's just the big thing to remember there. And then we get the fear and cowardice. Fear and cowardice here. Sometimes that's really hard to do at that range. Fear and cowardice here. Here. So it's just the same thing we talked about before. You're just really high though. Here. That's your pitch there, but you're doing distortion on top of it. Here. So you get that kind of sound. Same thing we talked about with that sound. You just want to do it really high. All right, we're going to do second line. There's something specific I'm going to talk about here.
So what do you tell yourself? It's hard to explain. Fear and cowardice here and now, and it's mayday.
So you get that big mayday at the end. So what do you tell yourself? It's hard to explain. Explain. Getting that note there. Explain. You can do a little bit of distortion there just to help you get that note. I find it's a little bit easier if you distort just a tiny bit to get those notes to be a little stronger. And the same thing. Fear and cowardice here and now, and it's mayday. So we want to go up to that note there. And compress it just a little bit. You don't quite want the distortion to come through there. You just want it to barely come out because you're trying to really compress that note and belt it hard. Now, the stuff I've been saying before about distorting into higher notes is going to be relevant here because when they do this song live and he does that Mayday, he hits the note same, but then he goes up to the next note and distorts, because getting super high like that, again, it's easier to distort the high note if you're building into it. So we would get this instead. Fear and cowardice here and now, and it's made. So he takes it up another level there and gets that distortion, and it makes that note a lot stronger, and it's also easier to get the distortion because you started from a lower note that you compressed, so we can easily cruise right up into that distortion there. Okay, that's everything that I think I was going to talk about here to get the basics of Ian Thornley's technique. Remember the things to keep in mind: compression, constant compression on belting and things like that, using your compression in different parts of your voice, such as we started with a lower one and then we went to a higher one, and then we went one that was kind of in the middle, you know, with where the fry and the compression is occurring, being dynamic with that, being dynamic with the amount of fry we're adding into notes and where we're doing that. Also, head voice belting, very important to compress in your head voice. Do not forget that, because then it just becomes falsetto, and that is not what we're looking for. And then, of course, keeping in mind manipulating your fry to help you get stronger high notes than you would ordinarily be able to get to. And always keeping in mind kind of that wild, crazy swagger you push into the notes and to the lines with, because that's something he's kind of consistently done with his career. It was a lot more prominent early on, but it's the same type of vibe. Just get the energy and the emotion into the song and sort of belt it out, and don't be so concerned with the precision of the pitch. Otherwise, you won't get the right kind of tone and vibe out of the line you're trying to get. And that is going to do it, guys, though, today for this video on how to sing like Ian Thornley. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to practice some of the things we talked about. Try to incorporate it into your technique, and you can be singing big rec songs in no time. Leave a comment down below if you'd like, and as always, don't forget to click the bell when a new video is out, and I'll see you guys next time in another video. Have a good one.